Now, Nevada Democratic Chairwoman Roberta Lange wants an apology from Bernie Sanders. Now, this comes after the Nevada Democratic Convention, where Bernie Sanders delegates were excluded from the count, and where the chairwoman, Ms. Lange, illegally ended the Nevada Convention with a hilariously one-sided voice vote. Let's take a look at this video. You may have seen this before, but I want to show you again just how comical this is.
What the fuck?
That's a good question. What the fuck indeed? Did you see that? She was about ready to break that fucking gavel. I gotta get out of here. There was no way, no possible way she heard more eyes. No way. But she wanted to end that, and she wanted to get the hell out of there fast. Dude, I'm the double. I gotta get the fuck out. Now, of course, she claims that, as well as the Democratic Party, that there was violence, right? People were throwing chairs. It was so violent. There was all sorts of terrible things going on. Well, there was one chair where a guy picked it up and then put it back down, and then they hugged it out. Because that's what Sanders supporters do. We hug it out. We're lat liberal. Now, here's the other thing. They claimed that there was violence, but strangely no one got hurt. And no one got arrested. And look, it's not as if there weren't cops there. There was literally a phalanx of police officers that were called in to protect the people on the stage. That's strange. If it was violent, how come nobody was arrested and there was no videos of people actually throwing chairs? I mean, there's plenty of video out there. Plenty. There's the one of the guy picking it up and then putting it back down. That's it. Somehow that conflates to throwing chairs and other objects. Come on, man. It's just something that they made up. They made it up, and the media, of course, happily goes along with it. Oh, those Bernie supporters, they're so violent. They're bros. Bernie bros. Now, of course, Roberta Lange now wants Bernie Sanders to apologize for that. And, of course, some of the terrible messages that she has received since her gaveling out and getting the fuck out of there moment. Let's watch.
How should Senator Sanders handle this? You know, quell his supporters so this doesn't happen again?
Look, when staff people and the Sanders campaign is feeding into this, people feel empowered to behave this way. Not only were people talking when we were trying to run the convention and yelling and rushing the stage and throwing chairs and yelling for my death in the crowd. Those are the kinds of things that have to be stopped. And
what should he say? How can he stop that?
I've not received an apology. I've not received anything from the Sanders campaign. I haven't seen anything that said that this should stop, and it's going to continue and unless people are made to feel like this isn't okay.
Do you want an apology?
I think he should apologize publicly for what happened in Nevada.
I think he needs to apologize publicly. For what? Now, they also note that Lange told CNN yesterday his statement was pretty weak that came out yesterday. I feel like the Sanders campaign thinks that this stuff is laughable, but I think it's serious. A threat to somebody's life is serious. Well, we'll get to how serious she thinks it is later. Now, she also said, it makes me cringe and makes me frightful every time I hear it. I think these kinds of apologies need to happen, and they need to realize that these are not laughable. These are threats to people's lives that are very serious. Well, Bernie Sanders did come out and condemn violence. But, because as we pointed out, there was no violence that actually happened. But see, you must apologize. You must bow down. Your supporters must bow down and support Hillary Clinton. This is what we're hearing from the media. Because we hear from the media that Sanders supporters are nothing but violent Bernie bros. And that you must make them apologize. And you must apologize for them, even though you have no control over your supporters and what they do. Here's the other thing. He's never incited violence. But of course, that's what they're going to claim. Now, here's the other thing. Just the other day, Clinton supporter Wendell Pierce was arrested for allegedly hitting a female Sanders supporter. Yeah, grabbing her hair and smacking her on the head, and then pushing another guy away. Well, why won't Hillary Clinton apologize for that? Why won't she denounce violence from her supporters? Her supporters, goddamn Hillary bros. Those sexist, misogynist Hillary bros. Does that not seem like there's a double standard? Why isn't she apologizing for Wendell Pierce? Why? Look, the truth is that neither of them need to apologize. They're both not advocating for violence. And it's ridiculous to blame a candidate for his supporters when neither candidate has ever called for violence. Now, Trump's different. He actually has incited violence. So, Trump, he's the exception because he actually has said things. But anyway, let's talk about threats, right? Now, of course, nobody here condones threats. And as Sanders supporters, we don't believe in violence or threats or intimidation. In fact, Bernie Sanders is running on one of the most pacifistic anti-war programs or platforms of any candidate. Whereas Hillary Clinton is a war hawk. She can't wait to go to war. She can't wait to start the next war. Oh, let me bomb Iran. Come on, it's going to be so nice. It's going to be so good. We got to show them that we're tough. Show them that we're tough. Go after Iran. Go after them. Or Bernie Sanders is like, I don't know, we'll defend ourselves if we have to, but I'd rather not. In fact, I voted against Iraq war because I didn't believe the evidence. But no. We're violent Bernie bros. And we know nothing but physical violence. That's why we threaten people all the time, right? Now, I'm not saying that none of those threats are real, okay? But I'm sure some of them are. But how do we know they're all from Bernie Sanders supporters anyway? Is there an investigation? I thought she took this thing seriously. Well, if she took it seriously, how come she hasn't had an investigation into this? Are the cops looking into it? Now, as I said, she says she takes threats very seriously. Why not try to find out who actually threatened you? Instead of asking for Bernie Sanders to apologize on behalf of that person. That for something he had no control over. And as I said, I don't even know if these threats are real or if they're from Bernie Sanders supporters. If they are, obviously we should take that seriously, right? We condemn that. We also don't know if they're from a Trump supporter. We don't know. We just don't know. It could be from an independent. Could be from somebody just trolling, just to be an asshole. I don't know. But what I do know is that there is out there $1 million troll army that is paid by Correct a Record. That's headed up by a guy named David Brock. David Brock has a history of serving up some of the nastiest attacks in politics that we have ever seen. Remember, this guy used to be a rabid right-winger that slung some of the dirtiest attacks and used some of the worst tactics against Hillary Clinton and against Anita Hill. She's a bit nutty and a bit slutty, right? All those attacks before he converted to being a Clintonite. You think he's not the same kind of person? You think he's above those kinds of attacks? No, he's changed his team, but he's still the attack dog. That doesn't seem out of the realm of possibility, but look, I'm not saying that it's definitely them either, but it does make you think. I mean, look, somebody sends a nasty message, the media gets it, they run with it, and then they can blame Bernie Sanders for it, and then they can discount all Bernie Sanders supporters and call them all, well, they're a fringe group. They're like the Trump people. They're fringe, we shouldn't listen to them. You know, they're not only violent, but they're also being lied to and misled, like the Bernie Sanders campaign is doing. That's the media narrative. Bernie Sanders' campaign is lying to their supporters, riling them up so they'll be violent, misogynistic bros. That's ridiculous. All while Sanders supporters can be attacked in public for being Sanders supporters. He even had his office shot at in Nevada. Him and his supporters face daily hatchet jobs by the mainstream press. And look, when we actually bring any of these things up and talk about these and make a big issue out of it, or when we talk about the abuse, or we talk about the rigging from the Clinton campaign, we're suddenly the bad guys. We're the conspiracy theorists. We're the bros. We should apologize. No, man. She needs to apologize to us. The DNC needs to apologize to us for how they've treated us, for their obvious disregard of democracy. Look, back to Roberta Lange. If she had respected the rules, there's a good chance Clinton probably still would have won Nevada. That's fair, okay? But at least we would have known. At least there wouldn't have been any question if it had been fairly done. Instead, we got what we got. And everyone, and I mean everyone, is now pissed off because of it. You want to talk about who's dividing the party? If anyone's dividing the party, it's this. And if anyone should apologize for doing what they do, it's people like this.